All right, thank you very much. Bruno Mars is a good song to walk up to. I'm going to keep that. It is phenomenal to see so many people that I have met over the years at this conference. This is my fourth. I got involved in the very first one, which is in New York City, and I was talking about the power of storytelling because it was time for me to talk a little bit about content and take a break from marketing operations, which is what I normally, as you know, talk about. So great to see so many of you. 150 sessions. That's a tremendous amount of content, tremendous amount of opportunity for you to learn about the methods and technologies for driving growth. However, take a look around the room. There's hundreds of you, 1,000 of you here. And I have found that the thing that I get most from these conferences is not so much the content that comes from the sessions, although very valuable. It's the relationships that I make at the conferences. So what I'd like you to do before we get started is stand up in a second, and I would like you to introduce yourself to someone who you didn't come with, someone that you don't know. And I know this feels a little awkward, but I promise you that this could be transformative not only for the event for you, but possibly for your career. So would you get up, turn to your right, introduce yourself, and stay standing. All right. You guys are a good social group. And now you can sit back down. All right. I feel like Ellen on the Ellen Show when she goes, okay, shh, shh, shh. Okay, sit down, sit down. Okay. Fantastic. All right, now if that wasn't hard enough, because I got a little timer out here, if that wasn't hard enough, I'm going to have you do it again. However, do you feel close to the person that you just introduced yourself to? Maybe, maybe not. But let me tell you something, and I'm watching the timer. I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes on this, and it's super, super important. Like I said, it could change the conference for you, could change your life for you. It has for me in the past at a conference. What I'd like you to do is this time turn a different way. All of us, every single person in this room is struggling with something in their life. Maybe you just took on a new job and you're trying to find your path. Maybe you hate the company that you work at and you're wondering if you should leave. Maybe your boss is a jerk. Or all of your bosses are jerks. Maybe your team sucks. Maybe you've been, charged with launching ABM inside your company and like, I better go to that conference and figure out what the heck to do because I have no clue what to do. Maybe a family member has just gotten very sick and has a chronic health condition. But something in your life is challenging you right now. And what I'd like you to do, and maybe just take 2 minutes, I'll get us settled again, is this time be vulnerable. Introduce yourself to someone else and tell them something you're struggling with and find out something that they're struggling with. You ready? Go. All right. I'm going to try and get you guys back seated again. All right, about 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds. All right, can I get you guys to get seated again? Thank you for doing that. Let's try to get the room back together. All right, if you guys wouldn't mind taking your seats. All right, a couple more of you still standing if we can get you guys to sit back down, just because we're on the clock. It's not because I don't want you to continue to have that conversation. All right, a couple of you got to take your seats over there. All right, well, the reason that I had you do that, let me ask you a question. Do you feel closer to the first person or the second person? Second person. Feel closer, first or second? What about you? Second. All right, so that's a really incredible lesson to learn there, and that is you have to be willing to be vulnerable to develop a relationship. And you also have to realize, right as you did, that we're all struggling with the same challenges, maybe at different times in our careers. Everything that you're doing in your jobs today is hard. It's incredibly hard. No one's got the easy path. If Don Draper, the fictional character from the show Mad Men, took a time machine and came into this time and this age, what would he think about your roles in marketing operation, the buyer's journey, the relationship with sales and marketing, right? It looks nothing like it did just even a decade ago. And so we're all going through dramatic change. We're all here to learn about how to navigate change. And what I'd like to share with you today is 2 things. We will get to talk about technology and marketing technology and some of the methods in the second half of what I want to share with you. But the first part is I want to come back to what the most important thing is in business and the most important thing between you all and your customers. So let's start there. Let's talk about though change for a minute, because let's put everything in perspective. I don't know how many of you travel, but if you haven't been here, and I know it's hard to tell where that is the Vatican in 2005. Anybody see something stand out besides the woman looking in our direction? Cell phone. It's a flip phone. Not a razor, I don't think, but it is a flip phone. Are you ready for this? This is to put in perspective how much change has occurred in such a short period of time. This is 2013. Same place. Every single person is carrying a supercomputer in their pocket or in their hand. Unless you're in a very remote part of the world, you have Wi-Fi, you have internet access wherever you go. The world has changed dramatically, and that was from 2005 to 2015. The iPhone was introduced the same year that I started Demand Gen in 2007. So really, if you take a look at 2007 to 13, dramatic change in those 6 years. Now let's put things in perspective just a little bit more and talk about somebody's morning. Okay, somewhere, probably in North America, a gentleman awoke from bed after having the greatest night in bed he's ever had. You know, I can tell where this group is going. He had a great night, that is for sure. Best night's sleep he's ever had, you dirty people, you. Because he slept on a Lumen Leaf mattress, promised and offered to him by the marketeers at that company to have the best night's sleep he's ever had. We're definitely gonna have a fun time tonight with this group, I can tell. Now, he not only slept in that mattress, by the way, that mattress comes with white glove treatment. It is delivered to his house. The mattress that he has is removed from his house, and he has a 120-day guarantee of whether he likes to have that mattress, offering him the best night's sleep. Bought it online, didn't talk to a salesperson, had it delivered, met some human beings from the company or contractors at that point, but did that entire transaction online. And we know what mattresses cost these days. They're not cheap, and if you can buy a $2,000 or $3,000 item online with a guarantee, that's the world we live in. But it didn't stop there, because he also bought his sheets online from Boll & Branch, because they also promised a money-back guarantee. And when he went to their website, there was over 35,000 reviews from people who said, these sheets are phenomenal. Didn't stop there. If you hear me pausing, it's just because there's a little delay in the remote. Yes. Oh, now we're ahead. Oh, you know that the rest of his morning. Let's stop right there and just tell the rest of the morning. So he did. He shaved with his Dollar Shave Kit that he subscribes to, because subscription businesses have certainly taken hold in the way that we buy. And then he went downstairs and made breakfast and did so using his HelloFresh kit that he also subscribes to and was delivered to his doorstep the very day before. He took Frank for a walk, and after his walk, he brought him back and gave him that pile of poo pet toy that is in the BART box. I think that's what that is. And there's Frank. He's cute. I wonder if that was the same Frank from Men in Black, but he's adorable. And so my daughter subscribes to BarkBox and gets that delivered for her little corgis. She doesn't subscribe to Trunk Club, but he does, so he gets his outfits delivered to him and he shops online. Put on his Tommy John underwear. I think it's okay to say underwear in public these days because they are, second skin. And then he goes downstairs and he orders up his Uber, and he takes his private chauffeur ride to work, and on the way there takes out that supercomputer and orders a cup of coffee to be ready in the building where there's a Starbucks in the lobby, and gets a Starbucks and goes up to work. That is someone's morning now. And when you think about that entire set of buying experiences, how much that has changed in just the last couple years. Because we have cell phones, because we have internet, because we have applications. There is an app for that. There's an app for everything. And innovation is not going to stop in just these experiences that we see. You have to decide if you work in the right place. That is really key to your career success. I know some of you, like I have decided to make changes at certain points in your career. And I would suggest one thing that you think about every single year is whether you are in the right place. And if you're not, consider making a move. Let's talk about three companies that you probably recognize at least a couple of them. There are three types of companies. There are companies that are born from change. A company like Stripe. Anybody ever heard of Stripe? Raise your hand. Not too many hands, but at some point, more hands will go up. Stripe is based in San Francisco. They were founded by two 20-something Irish brothers, John and Patrick Collison. Their company, based on their recent fundraising, is worth $20 billion. The company was founded by these two 20-somethings because they felt that buying online should be easier. So they developed a very simple API to give to web developers and application developers to conduct internet transactions. Because that experience of going to a website and then choosing PayPal and going through that experience just didn't seem seamless enough. And we all know on our mobile phones some of the apps that we use for digital purchases, and it is seamless. In fact, when Apple rolled out Apple Pay, you saw just how seamless it is. And Stripe is the technology behind probably most of the applications that you use to conduct that digital transaction. And do you know how many transactions go through the internet these days? 3%. They have a tremendous market ahead of them. 97% of transactions go through other e-commerce purchases, and Stripe was founded by two 20-something. They are the top 10 richest Irish men in America. I don't know if they're married, but ladies, if you like Irish men, travel to San Francisco. Their office is incredible. It wouldn't surprise you, right? In Silicon Valley, the kind of environment they've built for the type of talent. What's unique about Stripe is all their success, guess what? They don't even have a marketing automation system yet. They haven't started on the journey that most of you are on. They're just about to move from an email batch and blast tool to their very first time getting a marketing automation system. And we've been helping them and advising them on the path to go. Some of the things that I love about, as I've gotten to get to know them, is that their head of marketing operations actually came from sales. She really understands what sales is all about. And when we see her in these meetings, it's tremendous to see the synergies that she has across the organization. There are companies that adapt to change. I'm sure you know Paychex, a more widely known brand. About a year ago, we started working with Paychex. At that time, they did have a marketing automation system, but they weren't really using it as it was intended. And I think you guys know what I mean. Mostly batch and blast campaigns. Now, Paychex, by the way, is worth about $28 billion. And they've been around for 50 years. Their founder, Tom Golisano, was an entrepreneur. He started the company for $3,000, and they built their business the classic way, with an army of salespeople. And even though if you look at the stock and the valuation of that company, which has continually grown over the years, and the company's done well, they've done it for that brute force way. But Tom and the rest of the team and their CMO knew that they would not get to the next level if they did not transform how sales and marketing work together and start using these applications and systems in a very different way. When we got there, we looked at their instance of Salesforce, and it looked candidly like an episode of Hoarders. There was every field on every lead object, contact object, opportunity object. You're nodding, yep, ours looks like an episode of Hoarders. Is that what you're saying? Pick list this long, you know, so everybody has every choice imaginable for every industry on the planet. And really, the sales team was not adopting the CRM certainly the way that they should. There was no nurtures, there was no lead management, there was no lead scoring. Everything was tossed over to sales. And do you know the hardest thing? You guys shared about challenges you have. When marketing said to sales at Paychex, because this was the advice we were giving them, is, look, you can send everything over to sales. We're not telling you to stop doing that, but you should score it, and you should prioritize it, and make them more efficient. Sales said, don't you do anything that's going to slow down our lead volume. If you slow down our lead volume, we're not going to be able to hit our numbers. And all of a sudden, marketing went from arts and crafts one day to like you could take the whole company down if you actually start doing something different than what you've been doing. Very big change challenges. Andrew talked about it. Others have talked about it. People resist change. Don't move my cheese. And yet, we just saw what's happening in the world today. And if we don't adapt to change as marketers, our companies will fail. Let's talk about a company that did fail. Anybody used to go to Blockbuster? I sure did. I used to go there all the time and rent videos. They had a great selection of videos. Fantastic. They even had aisles where you knew what was horror. And my youngest daughter at the time, Audrey, would make sure we never walked down that aisle because they were all scary box covers. And I vividly remember that. And then one day they were gone, off the planet. Except I think there's one in Canada because they gave them the rights to use the Blockbuster name for a store in Canada. So yay Canada, they've got a Blockbuster. That is awesome. However, why did they go out of business? One day a gentleman walked in to Blockbuster and he went to return Apollo 13, true story. Walked up to the front desk, said, here's a copy of Apollo 13. She said, that'll be $40, please. He said, $40. I don't think I should tell my wife that I have a $40 late fee because I misplaced where the videotape was. You're shaking your head again. You're the wife who is going to be upset with the $40 late fee. It's a true story. It's on Wikipedia. You can look it up. Everything's true on the internet. No, so he said, that seems like an exorbitant amount of money. I know I had it, but can we negotiate on the rate? She said, no, that's the policy. That's the process. Well, Reed walked out of the store, and he waved goodbye, and he said, I'm never going to shop at Blockbuster again and go there and rent a video. In fact, I'm going to start Netflix. And he put Blockbuster out of business. Imagine a customer experience so bad that someone leaves and takes you out. That's bad customer service. That's literally what happened. And why? Because they taxed their clients for their service. And so the point that I want to make to all of you before we talk any more this week about MarTech and sales tech and alignment and lead management and ABM and all those things that are absolutely vital and important for growth and transformation is our customer experience has got to be phenomenal. That is the competitive edge these days. If you work at a company that doesn't care about your clients, then you need to go somewhere else because you're going to keep having to generate leads and generate new customers only to see them go right out the door. You've got to work at a company. I mentioned Stripe. Patrick and Jonathan would talk to every single customer who signed up for their SDK, the founders, to find out what they thought of the API. Was there enough documentation? Are you on the path to success? They still talk to customers today, and anyone who attrits, and they do have some attrition because they have a lot of people who have visions of creating an app that never gets off the ground, they still contact those customers today. And their culture of caring about customers is alive and well, and I'm sure as long as they never change that and keep developing relevant technology, they will stay around. It'll be interesting to watch where Stripe, still a private company, goes in their future. I started doing some writing for Forbes because marketing keeps pushing me to write more books and do more podcasts and create more content for you. Thank you. It's a lot of work. However, one of the writers shared this with me, which I made a slide out of, that less than 25% of B2B marketers or B2B companies focus on customer experience. We know it's kind of true, right? When we think about it, maybe not at your company, but we also know that we also spend a lot of time generating net new leads and sometimes ignore the marketing to our install base, and we need to stop doing that because 65% or more of our revenue comes from our existing customers, and so we've got to get that balance just right. So who leads customer experience at your company? Is there anybody who is the head of customer experience here in the audience? Raise your hand. Okay, take note. This is the B2B Marketing Exchange. This is year number 4. I remember back 12 years ago when I said, does anybody have the title Marketing Operations? And no hands went up. Okay, anybody have the title Marketing Operations? Raise your hand. Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay, a lot of hands, a little bit right there, but a lot more hands. I've seen companies like Integrate, companies like Lean Data, MarTech companies you're familiar with, hire heads of customer experience. I've seen companies that call their customer success department now rebrand those around customer experience. It's vital and it's important. And I just want to make sure that we talk about it and talked about it before we get into the tech. It's really, really important. We actually brought a new client on in this past year, Happy or Not. Have you ever heard of that company? No? Okay. Have you ever pushed the button in a restroom that looks like this? That's them, okay? That's about as simple as NPS score technology as you can get. You're walking out of the bathroom. I've seen these in Europe. It was a good experience. Ooh, not so good, you know? So here's the thing, and I see a lot of customers in the audience, a lot of our clients that we have worked with over the years. In fact, Kate, where did you hide, Kate? I wanted to put you, there she is. 7 years working with Demand Gen, thank you. I wanted her to be in the front row so I couldn't find her. Kate, every day hasn't been perfect. Everything and every project certainly doesn't go exactly, you know, it's like when you hire a contractor for your house, you always wish it was done on time, those type of things. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, we're doing very complex stuff. But here's the thing. If we just met Kate's expectations, or any of you that work with Demand Gen, we wouldn't still be in the relationship that we have. There is no meeting expectations. You have to beat expectations or you will not have that client anymore. And that formula has to be really understood by your organization. Yet are you using your marketing automation to onboard clients? Do you have nurtures that onboard clients? You're shaking your head, yes, awesome. Do you have nurtures that programmatically bring people into your community areas if you have such things on your website? Maybe, maybe not. So if you don't expose all the goodness that your company can offer your clients because you're in marketing generating net new leads, you might be failing or helping to contribute to a lack of a great customer experience. And by the way, it doesn't start when you become a customer. The buyer's journey and customer experience overlap directly. Really from their first interaction with your website is part of the buyer's experience. So, you know, if you had trouble downloading the app, you're failing on your customer experience. If you have trouble registering the app or logging in, you're failing customer experience. And that might even be before you're a customer. So what do your customers want from you? It's kind of like Family Feud. I've got 8 answers up on the board. They're going to show up on the wall right there. What do your customers want? Well, they definitely want convenience. We've become a society that's built on immediacy, right? And having things delivered or show up on time. We want value. Some of the reasons some of the marketing technology companies, I'm sure none in the other room, but some of the marketing technology companies are not succeeding is the price of their technology is high enough that the risk that you're willing to take is too great. They have to find a way, all companies need to find a way to provide value, allow you to take risk without that price putting someone's fear higher than the value. The quality of the product, remember planned obsolescence? We don't hear about that as much anymore because we've stopped buying products that fail. Why? Because everybody has a voice on their phone about whether it's good or not. And we won't buy products when we do research. Your customers won't buy products if they do research. We want immediacy, often difficult to deliver, but we need to be focused on it. We certainly need to provide choices, and I just don't mean colors. Pricing. If you've ever studied brain science, you know that small, medium, and large is there for a reason because people like choices when they buy. Are you providing choices to your clients through your marketing? Personalization. Netflix is a great example of personalization. The reason I gave Netflix as the last example, tying to Blockbuster, even though they're B2C, is can you think of a company that uses data better than Netflix? I can't. They personalize content for you based on data, what you watch, what you like to see, even things you don't think about. I like serial killer movies based in Ireland that feature this actor and were shot by this director. You know, that kind of, but they can see that and you necessarily don't think about it. In fact, don't love talking about House of Cards anymore because of Kevin. We miss you, Kevin, but man, you blew it for us. You know, it was a great series. That show was completely architected by Netflix based on your viewing preferences before things happened. And that is amazing to use data and personalization to create content in the way that they are doing. We should be inspired by them. And kudos to companies like Uberflip that have made resource hubs and are applying the same type of binge capabilities to our prospects and to our customers and serving up content that's really relevant to them and based on their interests. So we are seeing the technology that was applied to video viewing and streaming coming certainly into content, and I would encourage you guys to think about how you can make your experiences that much more personalized. It's certainly hard to do at scale. We talked about that in the workshop that we did earlier today. Accessibility. If you've not added chat to your website, might be time to pilot that, because I know this weekend on Sunday when I wanted to interact with Marriott hotels and update them on some information, they were closed on Sunday. And I felt, as maybe our buyers do, well, why are they closed on Sunday? Who's closed on Sunday anymore? Isn't there someone in some country that could answer my question right now on a chatbot? And if I'm feeling that way, I'm sure that my kids and others are experiencing the same type of, I want to have you accessible 24/7. And then certainly affordability, right? The best product doesn't win. Take all those pictures, I love it. The best product doesn't win. The best service wins. I spent Valentine's weekend up in Napa. It was enjoyable except for one thing. The HVAC system was out in the hotel room for 3 days. It was an average of 56 degrees in the room. That's cold to spend Valentine's Day with your wife, trust me. Not a good shower experience in the morning. What did the manager do? I told the manager, I said, I'm going to go give a keynote in about a week or so and talk about customer experience. So not to put any pressure on you, but how are you going to handle this stay? That's effective, by the way, so feel free to use that anytime you want. He said, oh, I really want you to come back. What do you think's appropriate? I'm like, no, I asked you. What do you think's appropriate? He goes, how about we comp your stay and offer you a night to come back and try it again, because I know that you'll never come back unless you have a better experience. Deal. That's the way it should be. Are your employees empowered to make those decisions and delight your customers? Because if they're not, you need to empower them. They should ask for forgiveness and not permission. Had that gal not charged Reed $40, Reed Hastings would never have started Netflix. So we've got to keep this front and center. If you need a North Star, if you need some ideas, some high-level concepts, but if you need something to take back to your office and to your teams and say, this is what we need to become, then become this, frictionless. Look at everything that you're doing in your business and take friction out of it. If you don't do e-signing, it's time to start doing electronic signing of your proposals. If you don't offer choices, it's time to start offering choices in how people can buy from you. And it is absolutely okay and encouraged. Doesn't sales tell you often what to make and do in marketing? Shouldn't we then come back to sales and say, hey, we need some more choices because a one-size-fits-all isn't working? Take a look at your website and your website experience, your apps experiences. Take a look at your onboarding. Take a look at all the touch points that you have with your clients and with your buyers, and get friction out of the process, because that's what it's going to take to win. Because the companies that are thriving and growing at exponential rates have very little friction. And certainly the companies that are born in this era start with no friction. And for those of you that work at a lot of large companies, I know this is hard. It's not easy to take this advice and go transform your company. I remember when I was 22 years old and I told my manager at Microsoft that I think we should bundle Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and people would, standardize on one product instead of buying three. She was like, you should keep your ideas to yourself, in so many words. And today there's the Microsoft Office. I guess I wasn't off, but at that time I was young and thought, why should they approve 3 different products when we could bundle them all as one? It just made sense to me. And yet that was crazy talk and not something they wanted someone in the organization. A great company to work, but I left there after 2 years, realizing that I wanted to work in an environment where my ideas could be shared and thought about. And I hope you work in those environments as well. All right, let's talk about a framework. SiriusDecisions, I know some of you are in the room. I want to give a nod to you guys. In 2006, SiriusDecisions introduced a picture on a PowerPoint slide of a funnel. And it had the words inquiry, MQL, and SAL. Those aren't words, but they're acronyms, but we knew what they meant. And they really changed the conversation between sales and marketing. And I said I was going to mention them. And there's Brad, who used to work at SiriusDecisions. Right next to you is Greg Forrest. And Greg Forrest, one year, won the ROI award at SiriusDecisions. And the ROI is a very coveted award from SiriusDecisions. About 60% of the awards given have gone to demand gen clients, which is something that we're proud of for our clients to win that award, because it's a lot of work. And Greg remembers we were sitting down fireside at a conference like this, and he said to me, after having a couple cocktails, if you don't mind me oversharing, he had just gotten a promotion. He watched someone else on stage present their story. And he said, I want to do that. I want to do everything that they have done, and I can be up on that stage. And he was at Concur at the time. And I said, Greg, you've had a few drinks. That's a lot of work. Are you sure you're up for it? And he goes, I'm totally up for it, Dave. Let's do it. And he came in the next morning to a room like this, and I told him that night, I said, if this isn't the vodka, cranberry, and club soda, then when I see you tomorrow morning, let me know if you're an MQL still. And he walked in and he put his hands up and he said, I'm an MQL. And that was a great experience, and you know how much work this took. That framework that they introduced transformed a lot of companies and still does today. And one of the goals that I wanted to do at this conference is introduce to you a new framework. I wanted to create a set of visuals for you with our marketing team that all of us could finally explain to marketing and to our sales partners what we're doing in marketing and what we're building. And for all of you that are vendors, marketing technologies or sales technology vendors here in the room, I'd like you to also use this framework to discuss what your solutions do for the people in this room and the people outside this room. So let me take you, I'm going to pretend to be Willy Wonka, and I'm going to take you on a tour of this demand factory so we can learn how to talk about it and understand what goes on in there. Here's what it looks like. I'm going to walk you around to the various areas. The red area is for acquisition. Conversion is the green area. Measurement is the blue area. And expansion is the 4 areas. And if you have trouble remembering it, it's easy. It's Acme. It's the most popular fictional company name in the world. And I don't know if you can appreciate the amount of detail. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in here as well. But the amount of detail that we went into creating this, because as I said, we really wanted to create a visual for all of you that you could hang a poster up on your wall and be able to talk and say, this is what we're building, this is what we're working on. So let's first start off in the conversion area. How many of you are in content marketing? Raise your hand. Kudos to you. Very tough job. You know that all those little logos have become new ways that you have to deliver your content in different form factors, from Instagram to Facebook to LinkedIn to emails and landing pages to the ebooks that you download. Those of you in search not only are responsible for search engine optimization, but search engine marketing, and those of you in advertising. As I said, some of you, I see Sangram sitting there, the co-founder of Terminus, one of the pioneers of retargeting technology for doing ABM. He can talk about, hey, see that advertising little area right there? That's the technology that we provide to help do online advertising to your target accounts. So as we go through this, think about the technologies that you're using. I think there's a laser pointer on this. I won't point it that way, that's dangerous. Okay, this is all the bulk leads that come in from your events. Andrew's been downloading information. He's going to provide lists to, I'm sure, the vendors that are here that have sponsored, right? You're going to get that file. You're going to need to upload it into a system. Content syndication, pulling in leads from there, doing other forms of lists. Technology like Integrate that helps bring this data in, clean, and keep it clean. Right? So now you can talk about the technologies that you're using and the processes that you have for acquisition. Your mobile apps are a great source of leads, as is your web. Kate, who I mentioned earlier at CenturyLink, uses AEM, Adobe Experience Manager. Some of you use Sitecore. Some of you use WordPress. Different technologies. In this area alone, you're probably using as many as a dozen technologies. Enrichment. I saw folks from ReachForce here, from RingLead, cleansing. Also, again, areas where RingLead, technologies like that. Are you, when a lead is captured, enriching that record? So you can do personalization, so you can do segmentation, so you can do ABM. Think about the conversations that you can have just in this area of your demand generation efforts, so you can talk about the technologies and processes. Kate and I recorded a podcast earlier today, and one of the things that she's been working on is consolidating her stack. And one of the reasons, spoiler alert, you don't have to listen to the podcast next week unless you want to, is she said, with a lot of good advice, she said, I have found over time the applications are overlapping more and more, so some of the tools we're sunsetting is because the capabilities have become overlapped. Now, as that moves forward, it moves into the conversion area. And this is the area of your demand factory that you have to develop and have to put in place. Whether you're doing lead scoring or account scoring, in the workshop earlier today, we talked about the importance of you've got to do lead scoring before you do account scoring. They're building blocks. How do you score an account if you're not actually tracking and scoring the leads? Maybe, and I hope so, that you've operationalized the demand funnel and you are statusing things as an MQL, an SAL. You've got SDRs or inside salespeople now part of your team. The little AI hidden over there, I saw Conversica on the wall, another technology that Kate uses for automating parts of the SDR function. This area of your demand factory is essential for driving revenue, absolutely essential. And if you don't have a marketing operations person and a sales operations person, let alone departments, it is time for you to think about investing in those people. You can't build a demand factory and run it really, really well. They are like the foreman of the factory. These two roles are essential, critical hires. So why should you do it? Why should you operationalize this funnel? Because of the math. Here's some numbers, and because I know it was after 4 o'clock, I'm only having you focus on 2. The inquiry to MQL conversion rate of 2% and revenue of 4 million. You'll notice that if you simply improve that number by a few percentage points, you will more than double revenue. With the work that we did at Paychex, one of the things we said to them was, listen, we know you want to keep the old way of just throwing leads over the fence to sales and let them follow up on everything, but it's not efficient. There are false positives. Remember you tell us all the leads suck? We know some of them suck. We want to tell you which ones suck. So if they just follow up on the leads that are scoring higher, you'll make you more efficient. At the same time, we're going to add in nurture flows. And those nurture flows are going to target the A, B, and C qualified leads. We did a blind test and ran some records down this path and some records, hundreds and thousands of them, and the nurtures outperformed the throw over the wall every single time by more than 20 to 30% greater revenue contribution. The measurement area, finally, technology and processes have come into place to improve campaign attribution and for you to measure your demand funnel. If you haven't yet invested in these processes and tools, it's certainly time to do it. You can't justify getting more money for your marketing department unless you are investing here. And then there's expansion and your customers, which I talked about earlier. 65% or more of your revenue, if you're like most B2B companies, comes from this lower area. And ABM is hanging off of here, as you can see, with pipes to all the other areas. Do you want to know where to start your ABM initiatives if you haven't already? Do it towards your customers. Do it towards your customers. Why? Because I hope you know their company name. You certainly probably have contacts at that company. I think you can segment what they own. You probably can create content and offers and messaging very well targeted to them. Because I got a secret to share with you. If you can't do that for your customers, with your CRM and with your marketing automation system and with your content, if you don't have the data to target your own customers, you have no chance probably of being successful with doing it with prospects. It is a very big challenge to employ ABM. Is there anyone in this room, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand one last time before we wrap up. Is there anyone in this room who is crushing it with ABM? Raise your hand. Crushing it. One person in the back. We're all going to party with you, cowboy, tonight. Oh, it's a gal, cowgirl. That's one hand. There's 1,000 people here. This is a difficult and new frontier for all of us, and people are having success, but it comes with a lot of work. I really recommend you consider in the customer segment. You got to pull all of these pieces together. Just establishing the targets is challenging enough. Assembling the contacts, coming up with engagement, the tools, and keeping score. So before you go down the ABM path, I really want to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourselves into. And if you haven't put in solid lead management, then really you need to start there, because you saw what the numbers do. So I have some good news for you. This will be a poster. I saw you all taking pictures, which is great digital body language or physical body language showing that you're interested in it. We will unveil these posters and make them available at the Marketo Summit, or the Adobe Summit now, as well as the Oracle MCX event in Las Vegas. If you don't go to those events, trust me, my marketing team will let you know that these posters are available so they can get to you. Why? Because we want you to have conversations with your teams and with sales and list out your MarTech stack. This logo soup stuff on the wall, that ain't helping any of us, all right? There's no framework for where those tools should necessarily be used and why they're there. So I hope that is helpful. I wanted to show it to you in advance of those conferences, because if there's any suggestions or feedback you have on it, please come let me or Rob or Tiffany or Anita, others on my team that are here. We really want to get this schematic and this framework to be perfect for you so that you can use it as an effective tool going forward. Last exercise, and then I'm going to say farewell until tonight. A, C, M, and E. I'm not going to ask you publicly, just on a scale of 1 to 5, I want you to take inventory. 5 is you're crushing it. You've got it nailed here. You're doing lead acquisition. You have more leads than you ever know what to do with. That's 5. 0 is we haven't even gotten started yet. We're at ground 0, or maybe that's 1. Ask yourself where you are in each of these 4 areas, and then set your priorities against that gap. So if measurement is way down here in 1, you're going to look at 40, 50 technologies over in that room. If you go into that room and start looking at measurement technologies because you realize you've got to go from 1 to 5 in the next 6 to 12 months, then great. I'm glad you're looking at marketing technologies. But if you start talking to vendors who are going to help you generate more leads and you're already at 5, maybe it's time to move to the next booth. Okay? So align your investments in your time and your resources and your technology to where your gaps are. That's really going to help you lift the business. And just to wrap, I see a lot of engagement by all of you, and I really appreciate that today. It's fantastic to see you guys ingesting this content. But I want you to also ask yourselves, are you an agent of change? Do you want to keep things the way they are? Are you tired? Are you burnt out? Are you not up for these challenges? Because there has never, ever been a better time to be in marketing. I wish I could start my career all over again and start in this decade because of the tools and technologies and methods we can use to drive growth. I would never have wanted to be a CMO all over again. I'd probably want to be a head of marketing operations because I love technology and I love aligning the various teams. If you're not up for these challenges, then consider something else or just move into a different role that you're better suited for. If your company's not willing to change, then maybe it's time to find a new company, or maybe it's time to talk about a culture of change and why to do it. Take a personal action item, maybe here in your head or maybe on a piece of paper. One thing I'd certainly like you to do is finish that conversation that you had with the person that you met earlier. Someone's struggling with something, you are struggling with something, and tonight you guys can talk about it. So thank you very much. I appreciate being here with all of you. Thank you, Andrew and the team. I hope that's a helpful framework for us to talk about the rest of the content at the event together and for you going forward.